Good afternoon, everybody. This is Karen Lee Harrington with the Maine Health Data Organization and the Maine Quality Forum. I want to welcome you to our webinar on the submission of the NSI data to the Maine Health Data Organization. I know everybody is crazy busy, so I'm going to start this webinar on time, and hopefully we will not need the full hour, but we are committed to answering questions that you might have. So just a few things. If you could keep your phones or your computers muted, that would be great. If you would submit your questions via the chat feature, we would appreciate that. And we'll address, as I said, as many questions as we can today. And for those questions that we're not able to answer during the call, we'll follow up in writing and post that information on our website. Just as a reminder, we are recording the webinar and we will make it available on the website for folks that you'd either like to forward this presentation to or folks that weren't able to join us today. So with that said, I'm going to walk through the agenda. And just a quick reminder of who the Maine Health Data Organization is. I think most of you on this call are familiar and are working with us now and have been for a while. And then I'm going to turn it over to our data vendor, Kate Mullins with HSRI, who will walk through an overview of the transition and provide a demo of the new data submission process and some support resources that are available. And then we'll get into, again, making sure we've responded to questions. What I'm most excited about today is that we've taken feedback that we've heard from many of you in terms of the current submission process for the NSI data. And we have, hopefully you will agree, we feel like we've with this new process, we've streamlined it. It'll make it a lot more efficient and administratively streamlined for those of you submitting the data. So just as a reminder, the Maine Health Data Organization's is part of state government. Our purpose is defined in our governing statute, is to create and maintain a useful, objective, reliable, and comprehensive health information data set that's used to improve the health of Maine citizens and to promote the transparency of the cost and quality of healthcare data in the state. We collect all kinds of data. We're responsible for securing that data, the management and authorized release of it. And we do this as defined in our governing statute, as well as in 13 or so agency rules. And one of those rules is Chapter 270. And that title of that rule is our Uniform Reporting System for Healthcare Quality Data Sets. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is one section of that rule where you submit data to MHDO. So just again, as a reminder, the data sets include all different kinds of data. I won't get into that. We can move on to, Kate, the slide you're on right now. So Rule Chapter 270 defines the healthcare quality data sets and the provisions for filing those data to the MHDO. And you'll notice in one of the slides that I think is coming up, we list out the data in 270 that you submit to the National Health Safety Network. I think that's the acronym NHSN. And then the data that you're submitting directly to us. And additionally, the rule establishes the frequency of reporting and the standards for the specific measures and that we rely on, as well as compliance provisions. Next slide. Okay, so this was a slide I was just referring to. There are several hospital reporting requirements in 270. The first section is around healthcare associated infections, and that data is submitted to NHSN. The C. diff data that you're all reporting, you submit directly to NHSN, as well as the MRSA data. It's the nursing sensitive indicator data that you've been submitting to us vis-a-vis these Excel transmittal workbooks. And that's what's changing in terms of the process. And then we added here, for those of you that also maybe work with if a hospital owns a nursing home, we recently implemented some reporting requirements for nursing homes, and they're also reporting C. diff vis-a-vis NHSN. Okay, next slide. So I think this is where I'm going to turn it over to Kate after just summarizing. This slide and the information on it comes right out of Chapter 270, Section 3. So this describes the measures and describes the measure steward that we are using for how you identify and report and the pressure ulcers that are stage 1 or greater, the number of patient falls per patient day, and the number of patient falls with injuries per patient days. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Kate. And again, just to underscore that the purpose of today's discussion is really to talk about the process for submitting the data. That's what's changing. Nothing else is changing relative to how you report these things or how you identify, I should say, how you identify them, the timing of when you need to report. It's really the process for getting the information to MHDO. So on that note, again, I want to thank all of you for taking time to be with us. And please don't hesitate as we're going along to put questions in the chat. And I'll turn it over to Kate to walk through the details and provide a demo.
Thank you, Karen Lee. So as Karen Lee said, we just wanted to provide a quick reminder on the filing periods and deadlines. And again, this is not something that's changed. You have heard from us to hold some submissions, but the deadlines for future submissions have not changed. So we'll talk about that timing and as we move through the transition plan. So as Karen Lee said in the beginning of this presentation, the goal of what we've done and changed is really about providing more timely validation of the data submissions so that we expect the result will be reduced administrative burden and ultimately higher quality data for reporting. So the content of what is being submitted for the required measures is not changing. It is just the data submission format. So data will no longer be uploaded to the portal using the Excel transmittal workbooks, and instead data will be entered directly into the MHDO hospital data portal. And I'm going to demo what that looks like. So what we've done through this transition is taken all of the NSI data that was submitted to the MHDO for Q4 2022 and Q1 2023. We've entered it into the portal, and there will be no action required from any of you unless you hear directly from us about any lingering data quality questions, but I think at this point, most of that has already been addressed. And again, we're just entering it into the new system on your behalf. The new data entry screens will be available in the portal beginning next Wednesday, January 31st. The NSI data for Q2 2023 and Q3 2023 must be submitted in the MHDO data portal by February 15th, 2024. The Q4 2023 data and all future submissions will be submitted through the portal beginning as soon as January 31st. If you have, for example, if you have your Q4 data ready or to submit, you can begin doing that as soon as January 31st as well. So as I said, I'm going to give you a demonstration in our current test system to show you what this new system looks like. So you're going to be coming to the MHDO hospital data portal, same URL. If you're an existing user, which I'm sure many of you are, you can use your same credentials to log in. And if you need support in getting in with your existing credentials or a new user that needs to get added, I will go over the support information for you to contact us. So I'm currently logged into the system with a test account, and I'm on the home screen. This is where we just, again, publish some reminders about the submission deadlines. If your user account is associated with multiple reporting entities, this is where, again, like you do now, you would toggle through the list of entities you're associated with, select the one that you're going to report on, and click this go button. I'm going to go to this units menu to show you this new feature. This is where we have pre-populated information based on the unit information you've submitted historically. So this is where you would come in and see all of the units that you've provided data on in the past, have the name that you've selected, the type and the category that you've selected, the description, and then the date it was added. And again, that'll be reflected based on what we've entered on your behalf. This is also where, if for some reason you're no longer have this unit, you could delete it. And this is also where you would add any new units that you have for your facility. So I'm going to click this new unit button. And this is where you would be able to provide a name for the new unit, a description, and then be able to select the type of unit that it is associated with, and then add, and then you would see that new unit available in this, this screen. I'm going to show you how this information then gets used in just a minute. So now I'm going to go to the quality data menu. This is where you'll see the history of all of your previous submissions. So this is now going to be a running list of the history of Excel workbooks that were submitted historically. And this is also where the history of any new and future submissions are going to be displayed. So each submission has a unique ID, the MHDO hospital ID that it's associated, the type, the quarter, and it'll have a status. Previously, the statuses were either submitted and resubmitted. We are introducing a couple new statuses that I will talk through as we go through this. And again, you can click on the details just like you could before and see the history of the submission and look at the details as well. So I'm going to show you where the next steps in terms of submitting a brand new submission. So I'm going to click this new submission link up at the top. This is where it's going to ask you to confirm the MHDO ID that you're submitting. The data type is pre-populated with NSI. You're going to select the year and the quarter that you're reporting on. I'm going to select Q2 2023 right now. This is also where you're going to select the patient days methodology that you're using. There's a drop down which you can select if you're unsure. This link here will bring you to a page that describes each of those methods. So I'm going to select actual hours and then click continue. So now my new submission's been generated and I have a submission ID associated with it. And then it's just displaying back the information I filled out in the previous screen. The next step is to enter unit data. And this is where now you're going to select from the units information that you've already provided or has been pre-populated. You're going to select which unit you're reporting for, and then go through each of these measures and report on, populate this information with your data. I'll just quickly note right now, the screen currently is only showing stage 1, stage 2 or greater in terms of the pressure ulcer prevalence. This will also include stage 1 as well when we go live with the system next week. So I'm just going to put in some bogus data here and walk you through the next steps. So when I click in, add in the actual hours, it's going to calculate the patient days for me based on the information I've previously selected in terms of the methodology and the mode, whether I'm reporting in hours or days. So now that I'm going to just quickly review my information, make sure everything's been populated, and I click save. Brings me back to this screen, and now I have a row for Unit 1 displaying the data that I just entered. If after reviewing this, I determine I need to make a change, I can click the edit button, be brought back to the screen, make those changes, save them. If I realize I selected the wrong unit, I can go ahead and delete this row as well. So, and then you just repeat the step in terms of going through each step for each unit that you need to report on. So after that information has been completed, the next step, again, once you've confirmed all of your data, is to officially submit. So at this point, you've been working through the steps. It's all saving there for you, but you haven't officially submitted. So next, I'm going to hit submit. And this is the step where we're performing some data validations on what's been provided. Previously, this was happening, after you submitted your transmittal workbook, it was being ingested into a database, and then some of these validations were being performed, and the MHDO would follow up with you via email with questions. Again, getting back to the goal of this transition, we're really trying to provide this information back to you in a more timely manner so that it's easier to react to it. In this case, what we're doing as far as the validation, and again, this is consistent with what's previously happened, is we're looking at comparing the current submission to the past 3 quarters of submissions. So, for example, this first issue that's being flagged is looking at the first measure, the pressure ulcer measure in the denominator. It's saying you entered a value of 1. When we look at the historical information, the minimum previous value was actually 22. The variance is, a difference of 21, which is a very large percentage. And again, same thing with the rest. It's also in this last issue saying you usually report on step down. We're not seeing any data for that being reported as part of this submission. Does that make sense? So after you review this information, you have the ability to actually, return to your data entry screens to make edits if for some reason you see a mistake was made. And if not, we're providing an opportunity in this text box for you to provide any context or explanation for those variances that are being displayed here. And again, I think, as you all know, the more context and information you can provide, the better. I'm just writing a quick response here. This is a test. I put in that explanation, and then I submit it for review. And I come back to this screen. It's now showing the status of my submission is pending. And that is because that explanation has now been sent to the MHDO for review. They'll review the information and either approve or deny what we call an override. And once that has been approved, the status of this will automatically change to submitted. The goal in order to be compliant with each of these submissions is to get it into that status of submitted. While you're working on it, it's in progress. And again, while it's being reviewed, any explanations related to the validations are being reviewed by the MHDO will be in a status of pending. So again, I'm going to go back to my history here. The submission I just submitted is this first one at the top. And again, the status is pending right now. I can go back and click on the details and see more information. If for some reason you need to edit a submission, even after that step, you have the opportunity. You can also cancel a submission if needed. That's really the basics of these new steps and how the data will be submitted. I certainly expect that familiarizing yourself with those validation explanations may take some time, and we are certainly here to help support providing any explanations or addressing any questions related to that. Quickly, just want to review the other information available in the portal. This pretty much is the same as what is available now. Under guides, we have the NSI manual, we have the patient days definitions that I just showed earlier. And then under help, we have the ability, we have information about who to contact if you need assistance. We will be updating the user manual to reflect these new screens, and we will post the link to today's training webinar in the portal as well. So I am going to quickly go back to the PowerPoint and walk through just a few more things, and then we will open it up for questions. So in addition to the resources available directly through the MHDO hospital portal, the MHDO website has a web page dedicated to the hospital quality data as well. That website has been updated to include the deck from today's webinar, and that is also where we will post the recording from today's webinar as well. We should have that within the next couple of days before we go live with the system. And again, just want to reiterate the support resources available. Kimberly Bonson is the MHDO compliance officer, who I'm sure most of you are familiar with and interacting with related to past submissions. Kim will be available for addressing any compliance or other general questions. And as far as technical support, or again, questions related to those validations results, the MHDO help desk is available to provide support as well. I think with that, I will turn it back to Karen Lee and we'll open it up for questions.
Thanks, Kate. And I don't see any questions in the chat. And there's not that many of us. So if folks want to just raise their hand to ask a question, it looks like we've got a question from Lori Wilson. Just want to verify that if we have already submitted Q3 2023 data, we will have to do it again. So, Kate, to go back for Q3 2023.
So I think this is up to you, Lori. We have not currently entered that on your behalf. So if you want to use this as an opportunity to practice with the new system, that's open to you. If that's not an option for you, we're happy to do that on your behalf. And we just want to connect offline about that.
You can feel free to, this is Kim, you can feel free to contact me if you need assistance with that. Either have us enter it, or if you need assistance when you're working on it.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay. So Lori, hopefully we've answered your question there. Are there any other questions? I hope that this is one of those things, I know for me anyways, it's, the questions may come up as you get into the system and you start working with it. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We want to make this, I mean, our whole goal in, changing this up was to address some concerns that several of you raised just in terms of, is there a way to do this differently to streamline it and get us, again, more real-time follow-up on our submissions. So that was the intent behind all of this, and we want to help you through it. Kim is a wonderful resource, and those of you that have worked with her know that, so don't hesitate to reach out to her directly. And I don't want to hold people up if we don't need to. So I'm going to just ask one more time if there are any other questions or just comments that anybody wants to make. Now is the time. Thank you. Thank you, Monica. Appreciate the new process and update. We like that. And Brandy, thank you for agreeing. And again, as you start working with it, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We really appreciate all that you do to help support transparency and getting this information in. Again, thank you. Have a great rest of your afternoon. And we look forward to getting together soon. Bye, everybody.